The summer of 2024 started like any other in our quiet suburban neighborhood of Maplewood Heights. My name is Jake, and I'm a 34-year-old software engineer who had finally achieved my childhood dream of owning a house with a pool. After years of cramped apartments and shared living spaces, I had saved enough to buy a modest 3-bedroom home with a beautiful in-ground pool that sparkled like a sapphire gem in my backyard. The pool wasn't massive by any means, about 20 by 40 feet. But it was perfect for me, my golden retriever Max, and the occasional friends who came over for weekend barbecues. I had spent countless hours and thousands of dollars getting it just right. New filtration system, LED lighting that could change colors, a automatic pool cleaner, and even a small waterfall feature that created the most relaxing ambiance during evening swims. What made this pool even more special was its unique backstory. The previous owner, an elderly gentleman named Mr. Peterson, had been a retired marine biologist who had actually designed the pool with a specific ecosystem in mind. He had installed special filters and maintained a delicate pH balance that could theoretically support small aquatic life. When I bought the house, he had mentioned something about future possibilities for the pool, but I had been so excited about finally having my own swimming space that I hadn't paid much attention to his cryptic comments. For the first few months, everything was paradise. I would wake up early, dive into the crystal clear water before work, and spend lazy Sunday afternoons floating on an inflatable raft while Max lounged in the shade nearby. The neighbors were friendly but respectful of boundaries, exactly the kind of community I had hoped to join. Then Karen Mitchell moved in next door. Karen was a 42-year-old divorce attorney who had relocated from the city after what she loudly described to anyone within earshot as taking her cheating ex-husband for everything he was worth. She drove a pristine white BMW SUV, always wore designer sunglasses perched on top of her perfectly styled blonde hair, and had the kind of voice that could cut through glass when she was making a point, which was often. From day one, Karen made it clear that she believed the neighborhood needed upgrading. She complained about the mailboxes being too rustic, petitioned to have the community garden removed because it attracted unsavory insects, and somehow got elected to the homeowners association board within her first month of residence. But it was her attitude toward my pool that really set the tone for what was to come. It started innocently enough. Karen would lean over our shared fence while I was swimming and make comments like, "Oh, what a lovely pool. You're so lucky to have inherited such a nice setup." I would smile politely and continue with my laps, thinking she was just being neighborly. Then came the hints. "You know, Jake, it's such a shame that beautiful pool only gets used by one person. In the city, we always shared amenities with neighbors. It builds community spirit." I would nod non-committally and change the subject, but Karen was persistent. The hints escalated to suggestions. "I was thinking, since I don't have a pool and you have such a large one, maybe we could work out some kind of arrangement. I could even help with the maintenance costs." When I politely declined, explaining that I preferred to keep my pool private, Karen's demeanor shifted noticeably. "Well, that's rather selfish, don't you think?" she said, her voice taking on that sharp edge I would come to know so well. "Here you are with this massive pool, and you can't even share it with a neighbor who would really appreciate it." I tried to remain diplomatic. "I understand where you're coming from, Karen, but I bought this house specifically for the privacy and the pool. I'm not comfortable with sharing it." Her face reddened slightly, and she huffed back into her house without another word. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of splashing coming from my backyard. Confused and still half asleep, I stumbled to my bedroom window and couldn't believe what I saw. Karen was in my pool, floating on one of my rafts, sipping what appeared to be a mimosa from a plastic champagne flute. I threw on swim trunks and rushed outside. "Karen, what are you doing in my pool?" She looked up at me with the most nonchalant expression imaginable. "Oh, good morning, Jake. I hope you don't mind. I noticed you weren't using it, and it's such a beautiful morning for a swim. I brought my own float and everything." "I absolutely do mind," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "This is my private property. You can't just come into my backyard and use my pool without permission." Karen's expression shifted to one of mock surprise. "Oh my, you're really going to make a big deal out of this? I'm not hurting anything. In fact, I'm probably helping by keeping the water circulated. You should be thanking me." "Karen, please get out of my pool right now." She sighed dramatically and slowly paddled to the edge, taking her sweet time to climb out. "You know, Jake, this kind of attitude is exactly what's wrong with society today. No sense of community, no sharing, just pure selfishness." She gathered her things with exaggerated movements, making sure I knew how inconvenienced she felt. "If you ever come into my yard or use my pool without permission again, I'll call the police," I warned. She laughed, actually laughed. "The police? Over a little neighborly pool sharing? Good luck with that, sweetie. Besides, I looked it up, and there are actually some interesting property line questions about this pool. The city records are a bit ambiguous." That comment sent a chill down my spine, but I stood my ground. "The pool is entirely on my property. Karen, I have the surveys to prove it." "We'll see about that," she said with a smile that made my stomach turn. After she left, I immediately called my real estate agent and requested copies of all the property surveys and documentation. Everything confirmed what I already knew. The pool was 100% on my property, with the closest edge still 3 feet from the property line. But Karen's thread about ambiguous city records worried me enough that I decided to install security cameras. I set up a system with 4 cameras covering different angles of the backyard and pool area, all connected to my phone so I could monitor the situation even when I wasn't home. It was a good decision because Karen's invasions were just getting started. The next incident happened on a Wednesday afternoon while I was at work. My phone buzzed with a security alert, and when I checked the camera feed, there was Karen again, but this time she wasn't alone. She had brought what appeared to be 2 friends, and all 3 women were lounging around my pool like they owned the place. I immediately called Karen's cell phone. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "Oh, Jake, I was just showing my friends Linda and Patricia your lovely pool. They're thinking of moving to the neighborhood, and I wanted them to see what kind of amenities are available. Get out of my yard right now or I'm calling the police." Now, don't be dramatic. We're not even in the pool, just admiring it from your patio furniture." "You're trespassing, Karen. This is your final warning." There was a long pause. "You know what, Jake? I've been doing some research, and I think you might want to reconsider your attitude. Property disputes can get very complicated, especially when one neighbor is being unreasonable." The line went dead. I left work early and drove home to find my backyard empty, but something felt off. The pool chairs had been rearranged. There were wet footprints on the deck despite Karen's claim that they hadn't used the pool, and one of my expensive pool noodles was missing. That evening, I called the non-emergency police line to report the trespassing. Officer Martinez was sympathetic, but explained that without catching Karen in the act, it would be difficult to do much more than document the complaint. He did agree to drive by the house and have a conversation with Karen about respecting property boundaries. The next morning, I found a formal letter in my mailbox from Mitchell & Associates law firm, Karen's own practice. The letter claimed that there was a historical easement that granted shared access to the pool area, and that my aggressive attempts to monopolize community resources were potentially actionable under various neighborhood covenants. It was complete nonsense, legally speaking, but it was clearly designed to intimidate me. I decided it was time to consult with my own attorney. My lawyer, David Kim, reviewed all my documentation and laughed when he read Karen's letter. "This is complete garbage," he said. "There's no easement, no shared access agreement, and she's just making stuff up. But the fact that she's willing to put her law firm's letterhead on something this frivolous tells me she's either desperate or delusional. So what do I do? Document everything, keep those cameras running, and if she trespasses again, call the police immediately. I'll draft a cease and desist letter that should put an end to this nonsense." But David underestimated Karen's determination. The cease and desist letter seemed to work for about a week. Then Karen escalated to psychological warfare. She started hosting loud pool parties in her own backyard, except she didn't have a pool. Instead, she set up multiple kiddie pools and invited half the neighborhood over for what she called Splash Saturdays. The music was just below the legal noise limit, but the conversations were clearly designed for me to overhear. It's such a shame that some people in this neighborhood are so selfish with their resources, Karen would say. Sunny Meadows Retirement Community was a pleasant facility about 20 minutes from my neighborhood, surrounded by well-maintained gardens and walking paths. I found Mr. Peterson in the common room, playing chess with another resident. At 78, he was still sharp as a tack, with bright blue eyes that lit up when he saw me approaching. "Jake, what a wonderful surprise," he said, standing to shake my hand with surprising strength. "How's the house treating you? More importantly, how's my pool?" "That's actually why I'm here, Mr. Peterson. I'm having some neighbor issues, and I remember you mentioning something about the pool having special possibilities. I was wondering if you could explain what you meant." His chess partner, a distinguished-looking woman with silver hair, excused herself with a knowing smile. "Sounds like Harold's about to tell one of his famous stories. I'll leave you boys to it." Mr. Peterson chuckled and gestured for me to sit down. "Please, call me Harold. And yes, I think it's time you learned about what makes that pool truly special." He leaned back in his chair, his eyes taking on a distant look. "You know, Jake, I spent 40 years as a marine biologist, specializing in aquatic ecosystems and animal behavior. When I designed that pool, it wasn't just meant for swimming. It was designed as a multi-purpose aquatic habitat that could support various forms of life." "What kind of life?" I asked, though part of me was already forming an incredible suspicion. "Well, that depends on what the situation calls for," Harold said with a mischievous twinkle in his eye. "The filtration system, the pH balance, the depth variations, the underwater caves I had built into the deep end, all of it was designed to accommodate different species if needed." "Species like what?" Harold stood up and walked to the window, overlooking the gardens. "Jake, have you ever heard of Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs?" My heart skipped a beat. "Pigs? As in swimming pigs?" "Oh yes," Harold laughed. "Pigs are excellent swimmers, contrary to popular belief. And Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs in particular are known for their intelligence, their strong territorial instincts, and their remarkable ability to distinguish between friendly and hostile humans." I stared at him in amazement. "You're telling me that my pool was designed to accommodate swimming pigs?" "Among other things, yes. You see, I had planned to start a unique aquatic therapy program for rescue animals, particularly pigs who had been mistreated or abandoned. Pigs are incredibly social, intelligent creatures, and they form strong bonds with their caretakers. They're also naturally protective of their territory and the people they trust." "Harold, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" He turned back to me with a grin that would have made a teenager proud. "Jake, I have a friend named Maria Santos who runs a rescue sanctuary about an hour north of here. She currently has 6 Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs who are in need of a proper swimming environment for their therapy and exercise. These particular pigs have had negative experiences with aggressive, entitled humans, and they have, let's call it, a strong negative reaction to people who display those behaviors." My mind was racing. Would they actually live at my house? Oh, no. They would be daily visitors. Maria has a specialized transport van, and the pigs are trained to travel. They would come for swimming therapy sessions, probably 2 to 3 hours a day. The beauty of it is that pigs are naturally territorial about their swimming areas, and they have an uncanny ability to sense hostile intentions in humans. What exactly happens when they sense hostile intentions? Harold's grin widened. "Well, they don't attack or anything dangerous like that, but they do have a tendency to express their displeasure quite vocally and dramatically. Lots of loud squealing, splashing, and general chaos. They also tend to stay very close to their human friends, while making it abundantly clear that strangers, especially aggressive strangers, are not welcome in their space." I could hardly believe what I was hearing. "Harold, are you telling me that you designed my pool to be protected by therapy pigs?" "I'm telling you that I designed your pool to serve multiple purposes, one of which could be providing a safe space for rescued animals who have been traumatized by entitled, aggressive humans." The fact that these animals have a natural tendency to protect their territory and their trusted humans is just a happy coincidence. We talked for another hour about the logistics, the care requirements, and the legal aspects of hosting therapy animals. Harold explained that Maria's rescue operation was fully licensed and insured, that the pigs were well-trained and socialized, and that the arrangement would actually qualify as a therapeutic animal program, which came with certain legal protections. "There's one more thing, Jake," Harold said as I was preparing to leave. "These particular pigs have been rescued from situations involving entitled, aggressive humans. They have an almost supernatural ability to identify people with those personality traits. It's like they can smell entitlement and narcissism. What do they do when they encounter those traits? Let's just say they become very enthusiastic about protecting their territory and their human friends. Very, very enthusiastic." I drove home with my head spinning, Harold's contact information for Maria Santos clutched in my hand. The idea was so outrageous, so unexpected, that it just might work. That evening, I called Maria and explained my situation. She listened patiently as I described Karen's escalating behavior and Harold's suggestion about the swimming therapy program. "You know, Jake," Maria said when I finished, "Harold called me this afternoon and filled me in on your neighbor situation. I have to tell you, this could be a perfect solution for everyone involved. The pigs really do need access to a proper swimming facility, and they're remarkably good at deterring unwanted visitors." "Are you sure this is safe and legal?" "Completely. The pigs are certified therapy animals. I have all the proper permits and insurance, and as long as the animals are on your property with your permission, there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. In fact, therapy animal programs are protected under several state and federal laws." We arranged for Maria to bring the pigs by the next Saturday for an initial assessment. I spent the week preparing by researching Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs and making sure my pool chemistry was perfect for their arrival. I also installed one additional security camera with audio recording, positioned to capture the pool area and the gate between my yard and Karen's. If my plan worked, I wanted to have everything documented. Saturday morning arrived with perfect weather, sunny, warm, and not a cloud in the sky. I was nervous but excited as I waited for Maria's arrival. At exactly 9 a.m., I heard the rumble of a large vehicle pulling into my driveway. Maria Santos was a petite woman in her 50s, with sun-weathered skin and kind eyes that spoke of years spent caring for animals. Her transport van was custom-built with climate control, comfortable stalls, and what appeared to be a small swimming pool for transport hydration. "Are you ready to meet your new swimming buddies?" she asked with a warm smile. "I think so. I have to admit, I'm a little nervous." "Don't be. These pigs are absolute sweethearts with people they trust. It's just the entitled, aggressive types they can't stand." Maria opened the back of the van, and I got my first look at the Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs. They were smaller than I had expected, about the size of medium dogs, but they radiated intelligence and personality. Their black, gray, and pink spotted coats gleamed in the morning sun, and their small, bright eyes took in everything around them with obvious curiosity. "This is Bacon. And yes, he knows his name is ironic," Maria said, scratching behind the ears of a particularly confident-looking pig. "He's the alpha of the group and has zero tolerance for bullies. This little lady is Petunia. She's the most vocal when she disapproves of someone. Hamilton here is our swimmer. He could probably outpace most humans in the water. Rosie is our early warning system. She can sense trouble from a mile away. Chester is our gentle giant, but don't let that fool you. And finally, this is Duchess, our drama queen. When she decides she doesn't like someone, she makes sure everyone knows about it." One by one, the pigs walked down the ramp from the van, sniffing the air and exploring their new environment. I was amazed by how calm and well-behaved they were, following Maria's simple hand signals and voice commands. "Okay, everyone," Maria called out. "Pool time!" The transformation was immediate and magical. The moment the pigs saw the pool, their entire demeanor changed to excitement and joy. Hamilton dove in first with a splash that would have made an Olympic diver proud. Petunia followed with a more graceful entry, while Bacon waded in slowly, clearly savoring the experience. Within minutes, all 6 pigs were in the water, swimming, playing, and making happy grunting and squealing sounds. It was one of the most delightful things I had ever seen. They love it, I said to Maria, who was beaming with pride. They haven't had access to a proper swimming facility in months. This is like Christmas morning for them. I spent the next hour getting to know each pig's personality and watching them enjoy the pool. They were intelligent, playful, and surprisingly affectionate. Rosie even climbed out of the pool to come get scratches behind her ears from me. "Jake," Maria said quietly, "I think you should know that Rosie only does that with people she really trusts. You've made quite an impression." As if on